Let me go in and see if I can get my my mouth to speed up or my brain to slow down. I don't know which one it is. You look great tonight.
You too.
Oh no.
Oh, we've been through.
All right. It's gonna be a good day. I got you and then Melissa Ford, who we've watched for years. She's gonna come on, and then Judith Cassell's gonna come on tonight. Well, which will be, I guess it'll be your tomorrow.
Yeah,
She's 12 hours, I think, ahead of us, so you're 10 or 11. Yeah,
yeah.
so like 8 or 9 in the morning your time, I believe, give or take an hour or two. Okay, we got 17 people in the house. Let me check the sound.
Perfect.
Uh,
One. Nice to see you all.
okay, we're good here. We're good here. Okay, so there's Melissa confirming for today. Hello, Dr. Joe Delaney, Mary Cooper, Claire Linham, Kendra Lane, Barbie Steiner is in the house from Florida. Andreas from Switzerland. Kathy Waldowski, Paul Handwriter's in the house. Carmela Live. Hey, Paul, how you doing? Ready to get back on the website as soon as all this shift is done? Shit, making me shift my pants.
Fun.
Frederica Anderson, longtime Facebook friend. John Montgomery, Debrielle, Jody Lee's in the house. Nadra Batek, new names. Cricket Holden, John Montgomery. Lisa from New Zealand. All right, Barbie. Hello to you. 41 people in the house. Heather Nielsen. Okay. So let's roll the show out. I love doing shows with Vera. Gussie's going to pop in a little while because Vera's raw, and she has this way, always has, of when she puts her stuff out, it's never leaves the human out. In fact, I'm a big proponent of hashtag human is the hero. So, as these shows have evolved, this is a 717th one on this format. So it's probably close to 800 we've done total. But I've noticed as time's gone on that the most powerful activations come from just the human speaking, speaking to each other, speaking out loud, not leaving the human out. And that's what Vera does so well. So welcome back. Thank you. I know it hasn't been that long since you've been on. I was really excited when Morgan loaded up the schedule, and the first thing she told me is Vera will be here on the 21st. And I said that fits. So welcome back, Vera.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. What the is going on? What is happening, man? I don't see. We must have done a show. We were in the other, so it must have been maybe 2 weeks ago, probably around 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago. And I know I was coming out of a infection or illness or whatever, but we had a really good show. And you had some questions that people had put up, which you've got some more today. So that was really cool. But I guess I'm going to throw the hot potato on you and say to you, what the hell is going on from your perspective in the last couple of weeks?
Well, I mean, I could just say welcome to New Earth. It's
Yeah.
it's happening and it's coming with a bang. And so much is going on. Not only because we had the eclipse yesterday. I mean, it was like the first couple of weeks of this year already, where
Yeah.
you feel okay. Now it's getting serious, and now it's getting real, and now it's getting physical.
Yeah.
And we talked last show about it, that a lot of people have a lot of physical ailments at the
Yeah.
moment, a lot of physical problems, and that these are like real illnesses, real bacterial infections. It's not the ascension flu or whatever people are busy with. So one part is this sparring for the physical body to be able to catch up and shift into these higher frequencies. We need to get rid of everything that is of old frequency in the body, and actually these infections help us to get it out, because when you have an infection, when you have viruses and bacteria in your body that really trigger you, your whole system comes into movement, and it heats up, you get a fever, and you really sweat it all out. And that's really important, to be ready for what's to come and to really go into the light body activation, fully go into it. Of course, it's a parallel process. We already have a lot of things that we can notice, that things are changing with our physical body, which is So we have this, one part is the purge of the old, and the other part is light body activation, where things are shifting and changing within our system. Last time we talked shortly about the glands, that the glands are activating, which leads to the fact that our hormonal system completely is out of order. And it feels a bit like you said it so nicely, being in spiritual menopause.
Did I say that? I don't remember anything I said. What's the correlation of the connection or the consequence or the explanation of the glands again?
Well, the glands, mainly what they do is they regulate our hormonal system. So everything we need in terms of hormones to steer what's going on is changing. So the way hormones used to be used in our body is shifting. And the glands are one of the first things shifting into that new way of supplying the body with what it needs. And same thing, what probably a lot of people experience is nerve activations and nerve shifting. So you have like some people just have like, you know, scratching like on the surface of the skin, and your nerves are really nervous. They get triggered a lot. There's a lot more electricity running through the body. Agusty and me were like talking about the crystal ass. It sounds really funny, and it's something that I'm very afraid to talk about, but I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing that this is happening, because they're the main nerve that goes, you know, from top along the ends in your
it's your sciatic. Your ass.
Not much fun, and it's something where people say, "Oh my God, this is so embarrassing." No, it's not. It's really, it's really a sign that your whole nervous system is shifting and activating. So it's a good thing if you have a crystal ass. Be proud.
I was wondering why I've been scratching mine more than
What?
usual. I've been wondering why I've been scratching my ass more than usual.
See?
But you know, there has been that feeling, and it happened to Morgan yesterday. It's happened to me where you feel like you don't know if you're getting bitten by by bugs or, you know, little insects or something.
The whole nervous system that is getting a lot more electricity through than usual, and it's just what happens is that the nerves are overreacting until they get used to it, and there's also, again, related to the purge. When you look at the nerves, and when you really, like, you know, start touching your nerves, you can really feel them. And what what happens, and I can see it with myself when I'm doing that, that when there's emotions trapped still in the physical body, what the nerve usually has is like a cover of fat around the nerve to somehow protect it, and that is releasing as well. So the combination of the more electricity, more energy, higher frequencies coming through, and that letting go of these emotions can be quite an explosive mix for people.
Yeah. And the glands, would that be the reason? I mean, we're experiencing it. Other people have said it on the shows where you get really hot, you know, and then you get really cold, you know,
exactly.
And sometimes one right after the other.
Yeah. And it's all a bit messed up. Also for women, periods are completely going, you know, like one time it's like really heavy, next time it's not at all.
Yeah.
So everything that's related, also sex drive can shift from one moment to the other, and then you feel like, okay, I'm just, you know, I don't feel like touching anyone anymore because I just don't have any sex drive for a while because the hormones are going crazy. And then all of a sudden it's back, and then you feel like, okay, where's my partner?
What do I do? Yeah, that's the sexual energy, the sacred sexual energy is, that's that. I felt that, you know, it's like, what do you do? You know, what do you do with this? You know, and
it's in the end, it's that connection between, like what you say, the energy, so the energetic part, that the body can actually read that information. So like the nerves and our body is preparing to transmit that new information. So you can feel the sexual energy already, but how can you really express it with your body, and how can you really read your body? So that's the next step. And also a lot of I saw a lot of discussions around sexual, you know, like sacred sexuality, and like in 5 and it's going to be a different world. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
we really don't know yet. Also, everything we learned, like people that were into Tantra and that were
Yes.
learning the old way of activating your Kundalini and
Yes.
it's going to be a different ball game. It's going to be completely different, and we're going to learn as we go how this works.
That's what's been happening to us. And, people know we've been on that road. We both were celibate for a while. We got married, and, they would think that the frequency that that we might have had, especially after being celibate so long, that the frequency of what we think or thought sex was or intimacy was would be really high, but it hasn't. But at the same time, we've been on this journey, not knowing what we're getting into, but being told, don't look at the old pictures of what you think this should be. And so what's happened is we've had these experiences that have been absolutely mind-blowing. And we had one, I think it was 3 nights ago, that was absolutely just off the charts, that did not have full-blown intimacy. But there was similar things going on, touching and things like that. But the thing was, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about this now, because you do what it comes to you, right? So basically, what happened was that there's in our evolution of the sacred sexual journey, I found portals on her body. Right now, it's just her. Right now, we know later it will come, and then it'll be the masculine portals to be discovered. That's the best way I can explain it. But we understand to discover the universe through these portals on our body, and we have. But something really shifted 2 or 3 days ago, and found a spot and this is not just an individual thing. This was very much, we understood, a collective transmission coming in, and understanding and knowing coming in. And that's how we know, all of us know, this all starts. Somebody receives something, they put it out there, and we just keep adding pieces to the puzzle. So what happened was, there is a spot on the feminine's lower back, okay? The small of the back, right? Where in the old sexual intimacy paradigm, the man during intimacy would put his hand, okay? Her energy is flowing in her body. What he was doing unconsciously was, he would, if he was, say, behind her or whatever act, he was actually taking that energy into himself, like in control. And men would know what I'm talking about, in holding their hand on this part of the small of the back. What happened was, as we discovered, in me touching in divine love, we discovered this portal, this power point. And during the intimacy, which again doesn't look like the old intimacy, as the sexual energy is flowing in her, the sacred sexual energy, that the hand put on that spot, not in a control or power over, but in a divine love, what ended up happening was, that energy then flowed in a circle. It started to flow, instead of into him, it was into her, or building in her. He was like giving it to her, or something like that, and then she gave it to him. So it began to flow like this incredible dual Kundalini. Everything that she was feeling, everything to the nth degree, I was feeling. And it was this incredible thing. The transmission that came through was what I just said, that in the old paradigm, he was actually putting his hand there, feeling the power and the control, and holding that energy for himself. But if he put it on there in divine love during intimacy, what would happen is it was building in her, and then from her she released to him, and then it just created this incredible, toroidal field or whatever, I don't know, but it was absolutely multidimensional. It was a collective transmission and an understanding which she received. She said, this is what just happened. I mean, it was incredible. So you're right. This sacred sexual evolution or remembrance, we have no idea what we're getting into, but I can tell you we've only traveled 1 or 2% of this, and it is freaking mind-blowing, and it's full of information, transmission, download, and wisdom. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's interesting that what you describe and how you experienced it so differently. It's really also that shift from the energetic system as we used to know it, the chakra system as we used to know it, to a completely new energetic system that we have in place now, when you have shifted your energetic system and when you've done the inner work. Because, and I wrote about it, I think already a year ago or even longer. Time is always a bit strange now, but it's really that you know, that old way the chakras were working in a spinning direction. They were spinning and they were basically sucking energy in.
Yeah.
It was the old way of sucking energy from each other.
Yeah.
Go to into an exchange.
Yeah.
And different now. It's no longer a sucking, because sucking energy from the outside was the old paradigm. And now it's really a completely different setup. It's no longer sucking energy, it's sharing energy. So what is basically what you were describing.
It's like a channel. They're no longer spinning like you said.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a channel. It's like a channel's opened in him. And in fact, I think it was 2 or 3 nights before we were about to go to sleep, and she got the call. She's like, oh, she was ready to go to sleep. She said, I'm going to go to sleep, you know. And she jumped up. She embodied a higher aspect of herself, you might call it. I mean, it was like powerful. It was like, because I've seen it before, but it was like, you know, the oversoul mother goddess. It was like, I don't even know. And she kind of performed a ritual, a final cleansing of his chakra channel. That's how I would explain it. So the chakras, I could see it, all this electricity, and it was a clear channel. And so her channel already being cleared, then the next step was what I just described earlier. So it's like a, you know, if I draw it like an arc, I'm not an arc, but an oval, that's kind of a, from the human eyes, it's more of a toroidal field. So there's all this energy going everywhere. When it was done, there was literally electricity shooting out of my fingers. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And she said, I don't, you know, finally she was like, go to bed, go to bed. But finally she said, why don't you just go outside and ground to the earth? So I didn't even have any clothes on. I just ran outside. I'm running around, but it worked. And that's another thing too. So much of what we're talking about, whether it's the evolution of the rediscovery of the sacred sexual energy or the sacred wisdom, whatever it is, so much of this is really, to me, I keep saying the biggest challenge is getting used to it, you know, because it's absolutely a new, like you said, welcome to New Earth.
Yeah. And it's really trusting that this is perfect the way it is, because it can be so overwhelming in the beginning when that, no matter if you feel sick or also if you feel blissful, it's just so much energy running through your system, and it's really going into the physical now. And that's the difference. Before that, it was kind of scratching the surface through the energy part and through the emotions, but now you can really feel that physically, and our body is still like shifting, but you know, it's not completely there yet, and it needs the trick to get used to it. But wow, it's really sometimes you really feel like, okay, how can I handle this? Because it's a trick, and that's the electric part.
Yeah, it is. Last night we started to get one. I fell asleep. I was telling you about it. We started to get one as we laid in bed. I couldn't stay up, and so it got tabled. Basically, it got put on the back burner. So she was telling me about it this morning, what she had seen, what was about to happen, which I told you about, which was basically the veil being pushed through from the other side. I would say it's something like that. I went outside before the show, and you know, I'm more out there, you know, in terms of like sometimes when I get stuff, I started hearing ringing, and I got the message that you know, we're in a conscious state. Whatever state we're in, we go into a dream state, it continues. Like whatever we're working on continues. But that the embodiment part of it brings us more activation, more power, more memory. And that's why things are happening in different ways to different people to embody it one way or the other, whether it be a star family appearing in the room when Morgan and I are together, or whether it be experiencing in the physicality, the emergence of the non-physical and the physical and sacred sexual, energy. But that's what's happening. So more and more as the veil's being lifted, which means many things, it's actually the conscious mind experiencing it and embodying it. And I think that's what you're referring to in terms of, how do we get used to this thing,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
There
really,
was,
we talked about it last time, or it's a different mainframe. It's a completely different ball game now.
yeah,
And that is something what is difficult for a lot of people also in the spiritual world, to let go of the spiritual comfort zone. And again, knowing, okay, everything I used to know about spirituality and how it used to work with energies, yeah, that was all old dimensions, and now it's working differently.
yeah,
And really letting go of these attachments of how the methods used to work.
yeah.
And
It's that, yeah,
get in a certain state, or how I used to get rid of things, it's all different.
yeah.
And that's
And
the biggest challenge now for the still, we talked about the unhealthy masculine last time already,
yeah,
letting go
yeah.
of this control and of this saying, hey, I know how this works. No, we all
So I don't know shift. Yeah.
arrive
Yeah.
now moment, and I've seen that a lot the past year already in my visions, and how this is all going to work is from the moment, trial and error, experience, find out how this works. We're going to rewrite this whole
Yeah.
script. We're gonna find out as we go. There is none of us knows how this dimension works yet.
No.
And it's
This
going
is
to be a huge co-creation and a huge co-created experiment to find out, and just exchanging information within the community, within our networks, and say, hey, this is my experience, this is your experience. Observe really well what's going on.
Yeah.
And share, and see where are the correlations. But there is no more written knowledge available in terms of how it used to work. And that's to the control freaky mind.
Yeah. Well, like you said, no one knows how this dimension works. I would say no one knows how this multiple dimension works, because that's what I'm seeing. Even with the portal that was in the sky, it was captured in the photos she took. But when you looked at it, immediately it had this depth to it, and then it had this light on top of it that was on top of it or the other side of it. And it was coming down on one side, which allowed you to actually see more of it, and then as we were experiencing that night, we were watching a movie and we're looking out the window to the house across the way, and it had screen doors. It's more like a just a screen big room that's not windows and walls. And these screen doors, which don't have any mass, were swinging open and closed, and we had stayed in that place for 5 or 6 days and never saw that once. So again, it was a multi-dimensional message showing us doors, and then we look up and there's this door. So it's a multi-dimensional dimension that we're in and creating, that's speaking to us in such a non-verbal way. It really is. I was going to ask you, because I think this is really important, because there's a lot of people, including Morgan and I know you and Augusti have experienced it, because I've seen, some of the stuff you put out, and this goes back even a couple of months ago, when you guys are in the caravan, and, the apple pie thing, that phase where you were writing about that. And that is, we're in this transition. It's day by day. And it's asking us to surrender and have faith. And it absolutely is drilling down to the most minuscule part of us, to the core of us, asking us to surrender, accept, allow, and just have faith and trust. And it's a little bit scary, It's a little bit scary. I mean, I don't know, and I'm just going to speak openly, because that's what we do here, and I think that's really what helps each other. We don't know, are we going to be hanging out together for another 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years? Are we going to separate, come back, or what's going to happen here? Is a big pot of gold going to fall out of the sky into our lap? What is going on? But at the same time, forget all that and just stay in this space. And that's challenging.
It is very challenging, and it is really learning to deal with that multidimensionality, that we don't have just this one timeline available collectively, but that there's so many different timelines now, so many different realities available in that fifth dimension, that yeah, basically anything's possible, but that requires for us to completely shift into this trust and this deeper knowing of anything's possible at any single moment, and it can shift in an instant. But when I'm attached to a certain outcome, either because I'm painting scenarios into the future, or I'm relying on an experience I had in the past, which used to be our reference points.
Yeah.
That was how the third and the fourth dimension worked, was we had reference points in the past where we had an experience, and we used it as a part of our learning to go back to that and say, hey, I did that didn't work, so I'm going to do it differently this time. Or we went into the future and we were creating scenarios what could happen to be prepared with that knowledge we had from the past. And that's gone, because now we're in a parallel world. We're not in a linear world anymore. So that means we neither need the memory from the past, the experience, nor we need future scenarios to be prepared for something. Just really we move through from now point to now point, from 0 point to 0 point. This all we have is intentions, and that's it. And have nothing to do with concrete plans or the how things will.
That's it. See, and like what you just said, and another way to say it is, you know, if we say, okay, you know, because it's funny, because you want to put your intention out, assist me in this, assist us in this. We want to do the good work. We know we're supposed to be together based on everything that's happened. And then the mind comes in, or the old mind comes in, and like you're saying, and you're like, if you have the belief system that, okay, well, if we're going to get from this point A to point B, or sustain this, then we have to go back to our memory banks of how that's occurred in the past. Like, that's a limitation that no longer exists, and that has to be let go. It is the absolute utmost epitome of faith. You know, that's all I can say. And so many of us in our journeys, when we woke up, we went through traumas, and we're like, our faith was instilled. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Quit your job, you know, quit your relationship, you know, give up all your possessions. But this is even taking it deeper. But you can also, like Morgan said, she said, dream. I don't know how to, but I can feel it right there in front of us, the dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing, and it is scary as well.
Absolutely, it is. And I'm finding, and which is amazing too, because over the last couple of years, you know, I energetically got shot out of my home, and I left with 11 cents in my pocket, and I start this journey, and I could find this magic from time to time, which was really based on hearing something and then doing something kind of crazy. And you go to this place and it looks kind of sloppy, or these things happen, but I kept following this trail. Now it's like, you know, it's like something changed over the last few days, and maybe this eclipse marks the end, because as I understand it, it was the end of an 18-month eclipse cycle. And if anyone saw the moon last night, oh my God, what the hell was that? You know, and so it's like, okay, it's the same thing you've been kind of doing, but now the rules have changed. You don't know what it looks like. The support's even greater. Your actions and intentions will bring back a huge reciprocation, you know, an immediate reciprocation. But how do you sustain that? How do you find that? I don't know.
And that's really the challenge for a lot of people right now. I mentioned the spiritual comfort zone, because what you have basically right now, there's two choices you have. Either you jump into that new flow that you don't understand yet, and you go with it, and you just find out while you're going with that flow how all of this works. Or you create your little bubble and you're not in the flow, and you keep doing what you were doing before.
Yeah.
Then you basically, and we talked about, you know, how this whole structure is set up, and how the algorithms work, and how your hardware is aligned with it or not. And you can choose to be that computer outside of that whole server structure and just run on the old system and do the same things like you always did and play out the old reality on your screen the way you are used to it, that's possible. But then you're going to continue to be in separation. Yeah, and at some point your physical body will just say, okay, I can't handle all these energies anymore. If you don't want to shift into the new, okay, let's get out of here. Or
Oh,
jump
yeah.
into the flow and you can say, okay, it's very uncomfortable. I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen next, but there, you know, I just trust. I jump into that flow. I know it's a new dimension. I'm going to find out, and I'm not alone. I mean, we have a huge community now that we
Yeah.
built the past 5 years, which is amazing. So you can reach out to people, you can share.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just understanding we are in the age of oneness and authenticity now. It's no
Yeah.
longer about separation. And it's no
Yeah.
longer about wearing a mask. It's no longer about judging. It's no longer about projecting. Yeah, we can continue doing this, or we can say, okay, let go of all of that, what was. Yes, it's still, you know, it's still running in individuals as a program, but it's just the individual people still carrying that in their selves. The timeline is gone.
Yeah.
So,
But it's kind of like the first people, whoever that might have been, because there's some dispute, but you know, somebody develops an airplane and it gets it off the ground, and then through the 100th monkey thing, I mean, somebody else, you know, and so the best thing we can do for those people is really, it's back to what the best thing we can do for ourselves, the best thing we do for those people too. You know, Nicky Hammond was on yesterday from New Zealand. Many people know him. He's been writing for 10 years on a daily basis. He has some incredible mandala books. And over the previous couple of days, people had brought up the metaphor of you're driving a car and you look in the rearview mirror and you can see where you were and you can see where you are now. And they're like, hey, give yourself some credit. But he took it a step further, because I was explaining to him, we were talking about the same thing. Like, how do you do this? You know, he said, well, look in the rearview mirror, see where you were, but remember what was going on. What were you thinking? And I was like, oh my God, you know, a light went off in my head. I thought, oh my God, I was actually saying the same thing I'm saying to myself now, you know, because that unknown door was in front of me. I know I've made progress, but I'm having the same questions, you know, and it's like, okay, how do we do this? I know I can't control it. I know it's the same thing. It was the same exact pattern. And then he said, then look what happened when you walked through the door. And that's when the magic came. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. You know, that's it. So the pattern is there to show us not only what we were thinking, but also what the result was. You know, it doesn't make us feel, it didn't make me feel any more confident or any guarantee about what's going to happen tomorrow. But at least I've gotten that tidbit of information.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one thing. You just got to let go of the idea of a guarantee, you know, like a guaranteed outcome. But when you are in that trusting energy, you know it's always going to be good. And that doesn't mean there's not going to be triggers. I had a huge trigger today with the authorities because I had a registration problem here in Amsterdam because I moved houses and I can't register here the way I thought I could. And so I was all of a sudden without an address. And I was like, I was so triggered by the fact that I actually want to be legal in the system, and it's not possible. So it's not that we just move and everything is, you know, happily ever after. We still have to deal with the old infrastructure that is that overlap that right now, that there's old infrastructure still manifested in the physical while we have a new software running already. So until that adapts and until that all shifts, that is actually dependent on how much we go into that flow or how much we hang on to the old.
That's a tricky one too. You know, I'm experiencing the same thing on a couple of fronts. One this past summer, you know, involving my passport, and another one on the lighter side of it. So on one hand, I'm making arrangements in order to, probably what you're doing, in order to enter the system, right? In order to become legitimate in the system, so I can have this freedom. Now, this sounds like absolute, you know, heresy to 5D. And at the same time, I'm going, okay, how much? It's almost like one extreme of me says that shit doesn't exist. I'm going to move, like Lawrence was talking about the other day. Lawrence Waddell was talking about how he you know, just got out of the system, how he didn't get his license plates registered, and he didn't have a license anymore, and he kept getting arrested, and they put him in jail for it. So it's almost like that extreme of turning your back on it totally and having this level of invisibility, okay? And then the other side of it is what we're going through, which is, okay, I've got to enter the system to have these freedoms as it appears. But does that even exist anymore? You know, so it's like another challenge to the human psyche, another beating, another
Yeah.
beat down. Yeah.
And I mean, I've had that too, that I was completely out of the system when I was traveling on my own, and I was not registered anywhere. I didn't have, like nobody was able to track me down anymore. Didn't have any insurances, nothing. Yeah, that is the freedom, that you need to experience what it's really like when you're fully expanded and when nobody can basically control you anymore. But then you come to the point of your mission, and that's where we are now, is that the missions are changing. It's no longer, like your inner work and like getting ready for it. Now you're ready, and now it's like, okay, now you're going actually into the task you came here for. And that, and we talked about it last time, it's not that we're going to create a bubble of 5D where people can, if they want to come to the island, when they're ready, they can come. No, it's the other way around. Like we talked about it, we're going to go into the system, and that's why we need to be legal there, and we need to be ready there to be effective, to really infect the whole system with our energy, with our new way of living, with our new way of working, of co-creating. That is how we shift the whole thing so quickly. We never be able to do that on our own so quickly.
It's another because this trip is all about, in my opinion, merging the physical and the non-physical. So it is another matter and etherical. So it's another example of, we can't disassociate ourselves totally from this. We can't rely totally on this 5D stuff, because we know we spend all our time up there, we're dehumanizing ourselves. So it's another example of integrating both. And again, we're learning as we go from every piece of the puzzle that's offering up their experience, whether it be verbally or just through the ethers energetically, because we know now that our efforts, even on an individual basis, are affecting everybody. Amazing. You've got some questions. If you want to add on that, I'll get it. Keep going. I'm going to pull one up.
You're going to pull one question up? No, it's perfect. I think we
okay.
covered that.
So this one comes from Andreas.
Yeah.
He says, I would love if you address the problem of awareness. I cannot imagine anyone ascending without being aware of the reality of the 3D, and how particularly insane Satanists, elites, many governments and monarchies traffic children for sexual ritual abuse, and how weaponized mind control, MK Ultra, among other technologies, food industry, vaccines, chemtrails are used by negative entities, aliens and humans, to enslave human beings. By ignoring these facts, we are giving our consent and power away. Honestly, I do not understand so-called New Age healers recommending people to focus only on positive things. Once you acknowledge the existence of these enslavement technologies from neutrality, doesn't mean acceptance. You would protect yourself. I used the 12D shield of Lisa Renee, and you will focus on positive without ignoring negative reality. It is time for full disclosure, and human must know the reality if we want to change this insane world. Appreciated your thoughts on this. Much love, Andreas.
Yeah, that's a long one. It's a really important one too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people get caught up in conspiracy, and it's not a bad thing, because it's important, the first step of awareness, to be aware what has been going on in the old dimensions. But at the same time, like we talked before, the old dimension, the old timeline is actually gone. It only still exists in the memory of each individual who was really busy with that timeline and with that specific topic in that timeline. So it keeps repeating itself in your own system, because as we have also learned, the more we move forward into the from the outside, how you create your reality. It's not that there is something outside which drives you. which is, of course, the reality and the truth in 3D and 4D. So in 3D and 4D, yes, there is forces, there is, like evil, there is the Illuminati, there is child trafficking, and you can continue with all the things that have happened in the third and in the fourth dimension. And it's all real in those two dimensions. Nevertheless, it was a collective creation of each individual, of all of us. We discover that now more and more, that we go back into oneness and we experience oneness, to also accept all of this, what played out before in the old dimensions. Though it was unconscious, it was a collective creation through our own fear patterns. So our own fear that was inside of us, we were recreating patterns like this. And whether they played out like, like Hitler and the Nazis, or child trafficking in Hollywood, or we have many things that in the third dimension relate, but also in the fourth dimension when we talk about Illuminati and conspiracy, which is the same. So, and it's also, there was a word in it, protection. It's no longer about protection. It's really about acceptance. It's not about shielding ourselves from something. That was the old way of dealing with spiritual things when we were still in the dimension of duality. So in duality, yes, you have darkness and light, and then you learn, I have to protect myself from the darkness. That was how we used to understand spirituality. Now that we're no longer in duality and separation, but we're in oneness, that also means integrate it all. And to understand, hey, I had a part in this, although maybe unconscious, but because it triggers something in me, it triggers a fear inside of me that I should look at, instead of trying to solve the outside world, do the inside job. And it will the more people will do that inside job, the more this whole reality will shift. And
I agree with you.
Exactly that difference of, do I still fight against something or judge something, or do I take full ownership of it, understanding, hey, all of this was part of the evolution of humanity, yes, and maybe it was hijacked, but it's gone. The timeline is gone. It's only within me. If I'm still busy with it, I keep recreating it, although it's not really there anymore. And that is difficult for the mind to understand, but that's the only way how you can really shift and how you can really ascend. If you keep being busy with stuff, it will recreate itself.
And it seems to me as unknown and eerie, not evil, not scary, but eerie as in strange and unknown. And as you would think, it becomes a more complex thing as we move into multidimensionality or multiple dimensions, which we might call 5D. It's actually coming through in simpler terms. Like you don't have to look at these 100 different things. You can look at 1, 2, or 3. And what I'm pulling from the question, what you're saying, the congruence I have with it, is number one, I totally agree on the protection thing. It's really one of the things we're talking about, or you're talking about, or maybe another way to say it, is that on a personal level, we choose. We understand and know that nothing has power over us. So we can now take our power back, and that in itself, that personal decision to say, I have power over this. It will not have power over me. It will not consume me. It will not take my power away. That in itself is an alternative maybe that we didn't see before, as opposed to going and boycotting, protesting, raising hell, and talking about it. So we just focus on that. The second thing I get from it is that what you're talking about is this oneness. And again, it's a personal thing. It's a personal thing that happens. But now, as you said at the top of the show, we're starting to come together. So the more that we just, and it's not that fluffy love and light that he was talking about. Oh, just look at the positive. It's not that. It's the action of faith to understand that we are oneness, we share oneness, and to do something like what we're doing right now, and other people with, their energy involved too, just holding this space of what I'm going to call divine love, oneness. Just doing that is a new alternative because of our higher awareness, that we don't have to do anything but stay in this space. And as we stay in this space, it kind of dissipates or erases all that stuff. It's a different way of getting to an end. It's a new means of getting to, it's the new earth means of getting to the new earth end, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you, and really well put. That's really what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. Here we got another one. Uh let's see, by AINA. Oh, wait. Okay. Anna, I don't know how to pronounce that. She says, sacred partnerships, twin flame journey, please, exclamation point.
Please. I'm gonna call in Agosti.
Yeah, call him in. Here, let me get the yeah. Yeah, this ought to be a good one. I'm just letting everybody know we're gonna run way past our normal hour here. This is good stuff.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's all right. I mean, no, we're good unless you guys got to go to bed.
No, it's fine.
Unless you guys want to go practice sacred sex. I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
We have a lot of champagne tonight. It's waiting in fireplace.
So yeah, about twin flames or sacred partnerships. I mean,
Yeah.
we both experienced that the twin energy has been ramping up again the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Also, it's really always when that happens, it's just like another portal to go through to
Yeah.
come into full empowerment and to come into this space of inner union. And this wave has been for some, it always depends where you are in your journey and in your inner balance. But this one has really been complete detachment from that twin flame partner we used to know as a twin flame partner. Detachment doesn't mean not loving, it's really going into this unconditional state. So that has been, for a lot of people, that last bit that was necessary to detach emotionally. And that means that, and it's a very funny thing when you experience that your emotional memory is gone. It doesn't have to be with a partner, it can also be with an experience. Like you mentioned, you've been homeless. Probably now, when you think about it, you still have the mental memory, but it's going to be very difficult to still relate to the emotions that you had there.
Yeah.
Somehow that's completely detached, and that's the same with the twin flame things, that like the partner that you used to think of, I can't live without this person, all of a sudden there's such a beautiful detachment that you realize, okay, there's always love, but nothing has to happen with that anymore.
Yeah.
So that was one huge wave going through. And maybe you want to add something?
Can you make me a little bit of space,
Yes,
please?
I can make a bit of space.
It was so funny because she was married twice and she had a twin flame experience, and none of her husbands went to ski with her. And she went to ski alone a lot of times, or to her favorite ski station, and she was like all the time like, oh, I would love to go here with my twin flame, no? And last week we went to ski in the place. So the manifestation, it was not the twin flame, it was me. So sometimes we are really attached to the twin flame game. And suddenly the plans of the universe, it's preparing something completely different. That doesn't mean that maybe one day she's going to ski with her twin flame there. We don't fucking know. But
yeah, that's right.
I realized something in an article a few days ago, that I read a lot, and she read a lot, and all of us read a lot about the twin flames and the reunion and the process, and we are a lot of time trying to chase the reunion, and at the end, twin flames, it's when you're buying a video game console, it's a cartridge, it's a game that going you through a process. It's not to arrive to any reunion. Maybe it's going to happen, I don't know when, because there is only now, but wow, what a beautiful game. So right now, I'm able to see that I'm thankful for the whole process without the outcome of being with my twin flame.
Yeah.
Now, I'm able to see how precious it is. I know that all the listeners right now that are struggling like Aina with the twin flame and chasing and and suffering, I was there, she was there, and it's painful, and you want to die. And the moment that you are trying to fast forward and facing your twin flame and push, then the energy is it's going to your face, and you want to die. There is nothing. Twin flames is so important that for my twin and also a twin that is in our group told me that it's more important than their kids. The twin flame things, it really make you, there is nothing more, it's an obsession, but because make you focus in yourself, in that mirror that help you a lot. So for me right now, it's not anymore a process like you say, like she said, that after that portals, that everything that has been written about the twin flames, it's not important anymore.
Right. That's right.
It's not important anymore, and that doesn't mean that I still have this love for my twin flame. And maybe, and people are asking us, how you can be in the relationship, and we don't know. I don't know. I think that I read about Cassidy Kane that she said that this November finally all the twin flames on the planet will be together.
I'm not laughing at her, but I'm just anything that happened prior to this year is gone anyway. But look, here's the thing. You know, we were talking about the personal journey, the journey everyone's on, like Nikki talked about. You know, you look back in the mirror, what was going on in your head, the thought processes, acclimating with the new way, and what did you do? You stepped into the unknown. What would make any of us think that the individual journey would be any different than the dual journey when you have a partner? We don't know what's on the other side. And I'll tell you something else. We've gone through daily processing, individually processing as a couple. And this was 5 or 6 days ago during whatever, around that period with the portal popping up. I don't even remember. Yeah. But so we were talking and having discussion, processing, and then we went over here, right? I went outside and this was actually the night before. I went outside, I went for a walk. I was telepathically, for lack of a better way to describe it, I was telepathically, intuitively receiving what we were going to be discussing in a couple of days. I was seeing everything she was going to say to me when she spoke her truth. So I'm walking alone and it just popped in my head and it said, you got to release her. You got to release Morgan. So the next night, she starts telling me all these things. And she says, this is my truth. This is how I feel. And I already knew. And she said, you got to release me. And I said, I already did a day or two ago. And she just got a big smile. And here's the beautiful part. From that moment on, more peace, more wisdom, more love for each other, more oneness, more everything. And we're content in that. We can look at it and say, oh my God, for 3 years, the universe has moved mountains. And we have story after story after story of validation, confirmation, miracles. So it looks to us that the universe wants us to be together, to be a PowerPoint, whatever. But at the same time, we don't know. We don't know what it looks like. It could mean she's on one side of the world, I'm on the other, and some kind of transformation occurs in this transition where the physicality, because I mean, it's happening. The physicality is merging with the non-physical. So how do we know what this looks like? So we don't know what it looks like. We don't know what it's going to be. We're at our best. It's ascending individually and as a couple. And it's more surrender, more acceptance. And it's that same energy that we're talking about on an individual level. So why would it change on the relationship level? It's amazing, beautifully explained by your experience.
It's a real time. I think that all these things that we are having right now, there is not anymore a book or a movie. It's a real-time TV show.
Yeah.
That's magic, because if that's the thing, if everybody knows that, next November all the twin flames are going to be together, maybe it's going to happen. But where is the fun if you already know what is going to happen? The fun experience is because we don't know anything.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure that with my twin flame and with her twin flame, that again, levels it's not necessary anymore. But it's going to be in the future a kind of relationship. And I would love to keep a really amazing good relationship, because I'm really thankful for all I went through with her, and you too. And we will be, it's like I say sometimes, I'm thankful for my twin flame, because if not, I will not be with her.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
process makes me real. And a couple of days ago, I asked to her, wow, do you remember last time that I was with my twin flame and with her, I was in my power, my energy, that came from my twin flame? And she said, no, that was you in balance in your own power.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, we're still thinking that it's the other person that mirror. It's like this beautiful thing that the twin flame show you who you truly are.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game about yourself.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's, and I understand Aina, that or anybody going through the twin flame, that people don't like to see themselves in a mirror. Nobody likes, because we always think that we are not good enough, and not we are pretty enough, that we have a lot of biases and a lot of faults. And until the twin flame journey help us to appreciate who we are.
Yeah.
But you can only understand it once you're through it. So that's the thing. When you're still in the middle of this process, you just think that would never happen. And the moment you don't expect it anymore, that it will ever happen, that you detach, you actually detach. It's one of these many paradoxes that this whole journey brings.
That's a big big word, the paradox, the paradoxical way this all happens. And and it's another representation of the individual journey. It's just another representation. So it's the same. I see it like as a spiral or cyclical path, not just a step. It's just like a weaving through, but it's the same thing. It's the same level of surrender, the same level of I don't know anything. This thing you bring up about a forecast, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but the real transmissions now, just like the yogi guru teacher thing is gone, the real forecasting, the real transmissions and downloads don't really talk about what's going to happen. It's talking about what's happening.
Actually,
what's happening right now,
Okay. It's it's a nowcast. It's not a forecast anymore, because
right. It's a nowcast. Yeah, I love that. That'd be a great name for a show instead of newscast. Nowcast.
Yeah.
Well, because really, it only makes sense that because the veils are obviously thinning and thinning and thinning, we're making this connection between the dream state and when we're awake. So we're remembering more. The information is it's more available. It's easier to remember and connect. We're connected to the collective consciousness. All of our stuff is wired together. So the nowcast is that's a new word. Let's steal that one.
And it's take the example of tarot cards, for example, that always used to work, and they still work, but automatically when you pull the tarot card, actually you set your new reality and you create your new timeline by pulling that card, and then it's going to play out like this. But if you don't use the card, you have a lot more possibilities how it will play out. So do I choose to use the cards and let the cards decide for me how it's going to play out because I set the intention that way, or do I make the choice myself? And that's again the spiritual comfort zone, to just let go of all the tools and the methods and everything. And hey, this is a different algorithm, this works differently, and actually limiting myself if I keep on doing it the old way.
Well, one thing I really learned from Morgan, is, and it's been happening to me recently, and I've talked about it. I've talked about my growth really expanding. This is just going back a couple of months when I allowed myself to feel anger and fear, whatever, sadness, whatever it was. I just allowed it. I just sat there quietly. The chatter stopped, and I'm just sitting there. And it seems so mundane, and it seems so simple, and just like almost like powerless. Like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and feel this. And like a baby throwing a tantrum, it just kind of like falls on deaf ears, and then it all goes away. you know. I forgot what I was going to get into with that, but it's just it's oh, I know what it was. It's what she brought to my attention was when you flip a card or when something's presented or any time, how do you feel? How does the human feel? So much of this time we've spent the last years out here in 5D and connecting with multi and all this stuff, that this is what you've always brought to the table in your writings, and in her too, is like, what is the human experiencing? That is the wild card. That is the the spark. And that is the honor, the respect, the love, the courage. I mean, this is our power, is to tap into those feelings. Nikki Hammond tied it to the intuitive, bringing in that space with that gut feeling. That's what he called it: the mind, the heart, and the gut. The gut is the feeling and the intuition, where they merge. And I thought, wow, that's another integration of the physical and the non-physical. And so feeling and feeling the human is as simple as that sounds, and as far away from what we used to be. I mean, it's like we try to get away from it, but that's where the that's where the direction is. Yeah.
And
You want to try another question, or you want to add to that?
I want to say the two things about one. It's for people like Aina or everybody that is struggling right now on the twin flame spiritual journey. It's just think on all the people that are spending a lot of money in the psychologists or the coach or spiritual guide. It's you have God put you your mirror in front, and it's for free. So you have the opportunity to go through that. It's better than inscribe yourself in an MBA to study something. It's really the best choice to growth. And it's beautiful if you are looking at an opportunity. You're going to be completely different. You are already different if you look how you started.
Well, what really helps is to be in that playful, childlike energy. Even with the twin flame journey, the more you become that playful observer and seeing, okay, what's actually happening here, what's going on, and the less you interpret and the less you have a story wrapped around it, the more you're going to it and enjoy it. And that, by the way, it's the same like, what we talked before about the question from Andres with conspiracy. The less I attach a story to it, and the more I go into that playful discovery mode and see it with the eyes of a child, and more an observation of, okay, why is this actually playing out like this, and what's the energy behind it, and how am I creating this, and how am I recreating this in my reality? That's when you really make progress. Every time you come with a story, or you come with trying to fix it or trying to control it, it's going to play back harder.
It's going to kick you in your crystal ass. And one of her friends told her the other day, and this goes back to Ayana's thing, and a misconception, and to the previous question, or the guy was talking about this new age, fluffy love and light crap, right? Look at the positive only. So many people think that you go into it and it's, oh my God, I saw her, I found her, and the fairy tale is going to just, unfold before our eyes, and all we got to do is sit here and put it on cruise control and drink champagne. No. Her friend told her the other day, she works with a lot of friends, and they talk about what's going on, like a lot of us do, and what's happening, what are you feeling, and, and they find the congruence and they assist each other. And her friend said, it's amazing that you're able to watch your masculine, which is really her masculine inside of her, in a physical representation, and your feminine in yourself at the same time, and vice versa. And the other thing that I think that she brought up, that she told me the other day, as she came to wake me up, and as she was trying to help me remove my shadows, I would act out, I would project, I would, get drunk and get crazy, whatever. And she hit a point where she said, I have to own everything in him. Everything that he's doing, I have to own. And I'm sure that was a process. And I'm sure at times that was a burden. But that's the reality of this relationship. It's no different than what happens internally, where we've got to face the universe and cut the bullshit. You know, oneness is oneness. So if you're in a relationship and you can't totally accept love as that person is, you know, you got to go back to the till on yourself, I think, because if you can't do it with the one closest to you, you damn sure can't do it with anyone outside of it. You know, it's still a personal responsibility in the story. Yeah, absolutely. Good questions, man. Good. Let's see what the next one is.
One thing that is
Oh,
important. It's
keep going.
That whole thing to, you know, have boundaries without protecting yourself. So that is the thing that you learn, is really staying open, being loving, understanding where these people are without becoming a doormat. Because then victim mode again, and that's what you wanted to say, is in oneness there is no victim and there's no person.
Yeah, and
that's right.
When you explain about the important thing right now, that it's experience, the most spiritual thing that you can do right now is go to the theater, to the cinema, to watch a movie called Free Solo.
Free Solo.
Free Solo. It's a guy, a climber called Alex Honnold, who climbs without rope, the El Capitan in Yosemite. And there is a TED video on YouTube that he explained that the only thing that he's doing, he's a master. He's a master. He's just memorizing, because obviously it works. It's first mind, then soul. He's memorizing the wall, but he say, doesn't matter if I able to memorize all the movements in the wall without rope at 1,000 meters. The important thing is what I'm doing is I'm in the bed and I'm feeling in my hands in the rock, how it touch, the sense, the grip of my feet in the rock. He's feeling it because there is no difference to be on the rock or to
That's right. That's right.
It's amazing. It's really the shooting of that movie. You have to hold your breath during the 2 hours of the movie. But this guy is not talking about Jesus or Buddha. He's talking about the control that you can make when you are really setting your intention. And he says this is the most scary thing that you can do in the planet: climb the Capitan without rope. But is the resistance there? So he goes to that resistance. He really, for me, it's a kind of maestro of the intention and the experience and feel. It's him right now.
Yeah,
that's a good example.
Yeah, it is. It's another example, and even further, the ability to create and manifest, in merging the etherical with the physical. You know, because we're understanding that in our imagination, which is thoughts, which is creation itself. Because how did this all start? You know, we're all one up there in the big void and said, "Let there be light." Well, you know what I mean, or whatever. You know, but so he's actually, and you hear about this over the years, people who give speeches, athletes, you know, and that's what they'll do. You know, if it's a basketball player that sits in bed at night and he shoots free throws and he feels the ball and he feels all his muscles, and so when you do it, it becomes, so it's a multi-dimensional message this movie and this man is sending out. Yeah.
So the secret was the beginning of the beginning of the beginning of all this visualization and manifestation. Now this guy really mastered it. It's, for me, it's like when you read every day and you have with your guests that we are limitless.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we are limitless, that we can fly. Oh yeah, we are already flying with deltas. No, it's you can climb 1,000 meters without rope. That's big. Yeah. And after that, then it's, if we're going to talk about teletransportation or other stuff, why?
Yeah, that's right.
Why not? In that dimension, it can be whatever.
Yeah, you're right. And the real impact of what he's doing, although it's amazing, the physical aspect of what he's doing, but the energetic aspect of what he's doing is where the power is, because he's opening that door, and that's permeating into the entire human hybrid soul grid. Yeah.
connecting to the experience, and that is how you connect the energetic with the physical. And that's what we're doing now. What we're practicing more and more is connecting the energetic with the physical, and it goes through the feeling. You have to feel it first. It's not think it, it's feel it.
Yeah.
And then it's going to manifest.
Yeah. That's right.
What we're learning. Yeah. The mind is only there for the intention, but then you need to.
Yeah, the feeling too is going back to what you were saying earlier too, is holding that oneness space, whether it's with yourself or with others. So it's not like, you know, feeling as I got the feeling I need to do this. It's more of a feeling of feeling this, and then from that, it kind of comes to you as opposed to the old way. Well, we got to go out and get it, you know.
And really becoming one with it. So this movie is a great example how he becomes one with that mountain. Yeah. He's no longer separate from it, and he doesn't feel separate from it. He really merges with it, and you can see that when you see him climbing, it's pure oneness. So it's really an inspiring movie.
Yeah. And it comes to me like if you the Dr. Manhali from UK. It is a doctor a few days ago that we read an article that she started talking with the basil. She bought the basil for home, and it's what's oneness? Why I'm not eating meat, but why I'm eating a basil? And suddenly the basil started to talk to her. No, I was a climber and I'm a mountaineer, and I'm able to also to feel and speak with the rock. When I'm dancing on the rock, there is no separation between my fingers and the rock. It's one unique energetic thing. So I really recommend you to the people that sometimes people just sit down and meditate, that go all there and connect with things. It doesn't matter if it's a basil that you are finding in the market. It doesn't matter if you are doing yoga with goats. That it helped me a lot to understand what it was, the oneness. Take a little goat and do yoga with a goat. Or if you are going to hack trees, or you're going to swim with dolphins. But how much you are feeling also with things that you can't imagine, like a rock. And she knows that I love to be in the mountains, in my rocks, in altitude. Being in altitude, it put your frequency completely different, or being in the sea, or being diving. And people, what happened, it's in the cities, they don't have that experience.
Yeah.
They don't have that experience. It's not possible. It's you are feeling completely disconnected in the middle of the skyscrapers and the city lights. You are feeling disconnected, and it's important if you want to understand the oneness. Go to nature. That it's the biggest creation of God, and then you can be one.
Which you can. Oh, I didn't know that I have a visitor here. I'm also having my glands. Thank you for that. Also, I'm having my glands going to hyper, metaphysical male menopause because I'm sweating like a dog, and I got a cat running up my leg over here that I didn't even know was in the room.
But I mean, I'm checking on the question we still had, and I really think we've covered it all. Actually, we didn't best questions personally, but I think we talked about everything. I mean,
what's that? The next ones you mean? You talking about the next? Let's see. Let's just see what they letting go of timelines. This is on Ann Met. Letting go of timelines, which choices are the most potent. Not that I want the answer to my choices. Haha. It's just that I feel huge things crumbling, and that I need to refigure everything. Yeah. Well, we answered that. And then perhaps the new way of manifesting and creating the new earth, when just being and now and feeling happy is so much stronger than any exact future plans. Yeah, you're right. That's by Jenny, and thank you all for those questions. Yeah. So, and there's that congruency again. You know, there's that congruency again. I've seen it in the shows over the last few days. I've certainly seen it with Morgan and I, not just with each other, but with the universe individually and with each other. You know, like I told you what happened last night. She said, "Why did you go to sleep? They were coming." And I'm like, that it was all perfect. But I knew as soon as I walked outside, I was shown you just carried right into dream state, y'all's work. No. But you're going to integrate with us. You're consciously, we're coming back basically. Go get 3 candles. And we'll see you tonight, basically. And then this white bird flew by like the mountain. For me, it's the trees, the birds, the wind. and a white bird flew by and came up and kind of like in a etheric way kissed me and then went the other way. Instead of going across, it came up like hello and goodbye, which was confirmation for me. You're not imagining things. And these are the things that we used to say to ourselves, oh, that's bullshit. You know, oh, that's bullshit. And that's the other thing I'd add too. We've talked about this over the last few days. It's an important time, I think, too, to remember all the divine episodes we've had in our own unique ways through these last few years. These were extraordinary events, U2 meetings and extraordinary events, the circumstances bringing you together. This is divine intervention, divine episodes, divine will. And I think it's important more than ever and becoming easier, but to bank on those things and know this is the real thing, you know, not all this chatter, not all this other stuff out there. This is the real thing. I think those questions were answered perfectly, and I'm going to reiterate those, and then take it back to you guys, and we'll conclude it. But so what I'm getting is stay in that space of oneness within yourself and your relationship, within your relationship with the universe. That takes away having to go do all these 3D things to address these conspiratorial things or these dramas or whatever the case is. Just stay in that space. And then the other thing is like Nikki said, look back in the mirror, see where you were, see where you are now, yes, but also feel where you feel. Thank you, Vera. The order of the day. Feel where you were. Feel what you were thinking at the time, which is the same thing you're thinking now. What was the end result? You walked forward, you drove forward into the unknown, and the magic came. What makes you think anything different is going to happen? You know, so I'll send it back to you, and we'll conclude it.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys want to add anything?
That was a perfect summary, I would say. It's stay in that oneness, stay in that trust. Trust your own intuition. You don't need the methods anymore. You've prepared. You can drop the crutches and you can walk on your own now. And that's really important. And trust also the physical things going on. They're happening for a reason. It's intense, not always fun, but it's always it's needed.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Honor it. You got to honor it. Yeah. I appreciate, love you guys. Thank you for being out there on the front lines and doing the work and being the example, you know, and sharing with us today and every time that you have. I wish you the best. Say hello to your dogs. And enjoy your champagne tonight.
Big kiss to Morgan and to you. See you soon.
Okay. Peace out, everybody. See you a little bit later with Melissa Ford. Y'all